I think we can all agree that the Nintendo Switch is one of, if not the greatest console ever made. Both the combination of new and old first-party Nintendo games, as well as the crazy third-party support that the Switch has, I think has cemented its legacy as having the greatest library of all consoles. Combine that with the versatility that comes with it being both portable and able to be docked on the TV, even if it may have a terrible eShop, no good online infrastructure, no themes, or achievements, I still think that overall, as a gaming console, it is the best ever. As a result of that, it is probably my most extensive library, although I do have a few more PS4 games, although I think the only reason that I have more PS4 games is because I have 25 copies of Persona 5. Let's go through the Switch collection, because I think it is a very fun one to go through. And our first game alphabetically is none other than Among Us Crewmate Edition. The only reason I have this is because it was on clearance at Walmart for like $10, and I think it's funny enough to have. Next is Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is the only Animal Crossing game that I've ever really gotten into, as it did take over the world during COVID, as well as, it took over my week or two after it came out, but I didn't get as into it as many other people did, although I did enjoy it for a solid 20-30 hours. Next is Astral Chain. I actually played this game very briefly a couple years ago. My plan was to play through it on a vacation and start on a road trip, although I played like the first hour or two and then immediately went back to Super Mario 64 as I typically do. Next is Balan Wonderworld. Now this was another Walmart clearance pick, although the reason I have kept it all these years is because of how iconic it is. Of course, iconic for being terrible, but despite that, iconic nonetheless. Next, we have Balatro. I grabbed this during Black Friday a couple months ago because, the game was nominated for all kinds of Game of the Year awards and whatnot, and, I'd like to have it at least. I have not opened it yet, as I have not gotten around to it yet, because it has only been like a month and a half since I bought it, and I do have a lot of games to play. Next up is the Batman Arkham Trilogy. I do love these Batman games. I've only played 1 and 2, but they are some of my favorites of all time, and the Arkham Trilogy I got just pretty much as a collectible. Of course, I have the better versions of these games, so I wouldn't really have a reason to play them on Switch, but I do love these games enough to want to just have it for the collection. Next is Bee Simulator. This game is just kind of absurd that it exists, and funnily enough, this game specifically was made as a joke on a Phoenix resale video, and as a result, the game is now worth a little bit more than you would expect, considering it is shovelware. Next is Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain. I have this mainly because it is Nintendo made. I played the DS version of this a while back, and I thought it was more fun than I was expecting. It's not as boring as Brain Age, so it's got that going for it at least. Next is BioShock the Collection. This is a very similar situation to the Batman Arkham Collection. I have this game, I played it on 360, I have the PS4 version. I would never really have a reason to play BioShock Collection unless I wanted to play them portably. So, I just kind of have it for the collection because I love BioShock and I want to collect all the BioShock games. Next is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This is a spiritual successor to the Jet Set series that was on Sega consoles in the 6th generation of consoles, and it looks very interesting, it looks very stylish. I would of course play the Jet Set games before this one, then have this one as the third, potentially, depending on what I do. I have played Jet Set, the first one, a little bit, and I wasn't crazy about it, but this one still looks interesting enough. I have it for the collection in case I ever want to play it down the line. Next is Bravely Default 2. One thing that you'll notice about the Switch specifically is that I have like every major Nintendo exclusive that was released for it, except for like, I guess, very, very recent ones. Bravely Default, I've never played the series before, but it is a Nintendo series, so I do want to have it for my collection, because I do generally enjoy Nintendo games, although I would probably play Fire Emblem and Xenoblade before I got to this one, I suppose. Next is Bug Fables. This is a game that's sort of a spiritual successor to the Paper Mario series, and a few years ago, and still nowadays, I am a huge Paper Mario fan, specifically the older games like Super Paper Mario and earlier, and at a certain point in time, like 2020, 2021, years before this channel was created, that was probably my favorite series. And Bug Fables, I always heard how similar it was to those games, so I bought it, and I never actually ended up playing it. I played it very briefly, and I'll definitely get to it someday. I just haven't found the time, I guess. Next up is Burnout Paradise Remastered. Now, I got this game because it was my brother's and he never really played it, so he just gave it to me. So that's why I have it. I haven't play it before. I have played Burnout 3 though. I guess I'll just give a little bit on the Burnout series. I have played Burnout 3 a little bit, like 5 years ago, and I did like it, although, you know, that was so long ago I can barely remember it. Cave Story Plus is next alphabetically. As you saw earlier with Balatro and Bug Fables, I do have a lot of indie games on the Switch. This is where I would typically play those, and I enjoy collecting them on Switch. I don't know why, but I do. And I've not gotten to Cave Story yet, but it seems interesting enough. I've heard it's very good. So Celeste is one of the greatest 2D platformers ever made. It's so good, I can't recommend it enough. And this is one where a lot of people say it's extremely difficult, and I just don't find it that hard. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but this game is fantastic. I would recommend it to anyone. Next is Collection of Mana. I believe this is I'm not very familiar with the Mana series, to be completely honest. I don't know. I believe it was a Super Nintendo series, although I could be completely wrong on that. But I do have it, you know, a relatively well-known JRPG, so I guess I grabbed it for $10 at some point. We have Cuphead next. This is a very challenging game. This was one that I had a lot of trouble with. Like, this is one that I do think definitely earns its difficulty. I guess a reputation. It's not my favorite indie ever. I'm not as big of a fan of the art style as many people are, and that's just my personal preference. I can definitely see the appeal, of course. But yeah, I like Cuphead. It's just not my favorite. Danganronpa Decadence is up next. I played through this entire series on Vita, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. Danganronpa 2 was my favorite, as it is for most people. I enjoyed this series a lot, and I wanted it physically, so I grabbed it on Switch. Next is Deathmark. This was one that I was just shopping at GameStop during one of their sales, and I saw this game, and it looked interesting, and it just kind of seems like, in general, something I would enjoy. So I grabbed it, and I've held on to it since. I read the back of the box. It seemed interesting enough, so I'll definitely play this at some point. Next is Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. As far as I've heard, this is the best Digimon game. Now, I've kind of passed my Pokemon phase in my life at this point, but if I ever were to try a Digimon game for whatever reason, I guess it would be this one. Here's another indie game that I have, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. I did play this one, and it was interesting enough. I mean, I don't want to, you know, make too big a deal of this one. We'll move on from here. We have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I played this game on Wii U originally, and I just kind of grabbed the Switch version, because why not? It is one of the best 2D platformers ever. My favorite Donkey Kong game. It's really, really good. Now we have Dragon Quest XI. I've tried to play through this game multiple times, because it is one of my good friends' favorite game of all time. He loves this game, and I don't know. I'm just not a Dragon Quest guy. It's too, like, kind of by the books JRPG for me. And, you know, I definitely see the appeal again here. I see why people like it so much. It's just not really my thing. Now we have Fire Emblem Engage. Mine is still sealed because I grabbed this during a Walmart clearance run for like $20, I think. I've heard this one is kind of one of the worst Fire Emblem games, so if I were to play one, I don't think it would be this, but there is always a chance that I end up becoming a pretty big Fire Emblem fan down the line, and, you know, part of that would be wanting to play all the games, so I do have it. Now we have Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. This was, I believe, a GameStop clearance one, because it is also brand new. I mean, what are the odds that I have two brand new sealed GameStop, or not GameStop, Nintendo Fire Emblem games? I don't know, just kind of odd, but yeah, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, same thing, I suppose. Now we have a sealed Fortnite Minty Legends pack. Now I do have a very fun story about this. I bought this at a GameStop because probably around a year or so ago, they had these on clearance for $5. Now, the store that I went to had 2 copies left. Now, what you may know about GameStop is that when they get new games, they always gut one. Like, they take the cartridge out of the case after opening the seal, just so they have a case to put on the shelf to show that they have it in stock, and it never gets played, so they still count it as new, even though, you know, any store that's reasonable does a discount on the full copy of like a piece of furniture or whatever. But, you know, GameStop is stupid, so that's how they do it, and they don't discount it whatsoever. Well, the gut copy that they had for Fortnite Minty Legends pack just so happened to still have the code inside, so I snapped a picture of that code, took it home, plugged it in, and was able to keep the sealed Fortnite Minty Legends pack, and now it's worth like $50, so that was a very good purchase on my end. Now we have Hades. I bought Hades on a Black Friday sale a couple of years ago from GameStop, because at the time it was like one of the big Game of the Year contenders, I believe that year or the year prior, and to be honest, the game never really intrigued me, but just off of its level of quality, I decided to pick it up, and I have not gotten around to it. To be honest, I don't think the game is going to be my thing. I don't think I'd like it, but I still have it just because, I will still try it eventually, as I do try to play a lot of different games. Next is Hollow Knight, which I do have the collector's edition for. I got this game for Christmas. Going into it, I knew full well that it was going to probably be one of my favorites of all time. I'll move that Metal Mario. I knew damn well that it was going to be one of my favorite games of all time before I even got into it, so I wanted the collector's edition, and I could not have been more right. This is definitely a top 5 game of all time for me. It is absolutely perfect in every way. I cannot speak highly enough of it, and the collector's edition is pretty cool. Now we have Hotline Miami collection. There was this guy who went to my school. His name was Aldo, which is a pretty odd Italian name, and so he always brought in his own laptop as well as the school laptop, so he could play indie games on his computer, specifically indie games because his computer could not run anything else, because the guy was a complete weirdo. But he always played Hotline Miami, and regardless of him, I mean, that's completely irrelevant to this, but regardless of him, I have heard that this game is pretty fun. Again, I don't know if it would be my thing, but I still got it, and it's got a giant chicken on the cover with a baseball bat in his hand, so I mean, it's got to be good, right? Now we have Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are my second and third favorite games of all time, so you may think I probably liked this game quite a bit, and the opposite is true. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is, in my opinion, the worst of the Warrior games that I have played, at least on a gameplay level. There's no variety, there's no good variety to the gameplay. It's either the same boring hack and slash, or it's something else that's just not fun. And on top of that, I spoiler alert, I guess, although no one should be playing this game. I learned later, after abandoning this game, is that it is just not canon at all. So it's completely pointless to even play on a narrative level, so I think this game is pretty bad, although that's just my opinion, of course. I do still have it because the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom series is probably those are some of my favorite games of all time, so I want to have this for the collection, despite not liking the game at all, really. Now we have Katamari Damacy Reroll. I have this game on PS2, and that's where I played it. It is what you get. I never got used to the controls despite playing for hours on end. It still just felt so weird to me. So I'm not the biggest fan of this game for that reason alone. Although I'm sure if I continued, playing this game, I'd eventually get the hang of it, but I just never did. Now we have Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I played this game closer to when it came out, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, although I don't remember much of it, to be honest. It's just a very fun 3D platformer. It's one of the better ones out there that I've played that's not Mario, so it's pretty solid. And I think what's weird is that we have not gotten a Mario game yet on what? Now we have LA Noire. This is very similar to Bioshock and Batman, where I played this game on 360, loved it, and wanted to just kind of collect this one just for the sake of having it. And I actually did play the Switch version of this game because it does have cases that are not on the base version of the 360 one, the ones that were DLC at the time, and it was definitely worth a playthrough because I think the DLC cases are the best ones in the entire game, and I could not recommend this game enough. I did play it at a time where I was definitely less experienced and had not played as many games, so I don't know if that's the reason why I still love all the games that I played at that time. And I don't know if I played this game for the first time now, if I would be as big of a fan of it, but I did love this game when I played it, and it is one of my favorites. Next is Live Alive. When this game was coming out, it really intrigued me quite a bit, because at the time I enjoyed Octopath Traveler, and it seemed like just kind of a more interesting game in that art style, and I ended up getting it, and I never played it unfortunately. Of course, I will play it eventually because it still does intrigue me quite a bit. But I just have not played it as of recording this. It's not really at the top of my backlog, but it will get done eventually. Now we have a Luigi's Mansion 3, the first Mario game. This is a very good game. It's very solid. I don't really have much to say about it because I played it so long ago. I played it when it came out. But yeah. Another thing that I just figured I'd provide context on is that the bulk majority of games that I've played have been since late 2020. That's when I really started playing all types of games. So for the most part, every game that I've played is still somewhat fresh in my mind. This is an exception to that. I don't remember this game very well, but I do remember liking it quite a bit. Now we have Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I remember very vividly that I bought this game when it was on sale during Black Friday, I believe in 2019. This was like very, very, very early on in my collecting journey. Maybe even before I started collecting, or during a period where I wasn't really considering myself a collector. It's very odd, but I guess my point is that Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I played for like 15 minutes a couple years ago, and that was about it. Now we have Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I bought this on Black Friday for $15 this year, or I guess last year now, so that's a fairly interesting coincidence. The main reason I got this is because a lot of this game's print run was done as digital codes inside the box, and this specific copy is not that. This has the actual cartridge in it, which, I don't know. I mean, I hate Ubisoft, so it's unfortunate, but, I did give them money. I hate Ubisoft. I hate Ubisoft. I hate you. And now we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't like this game that much because it's not Mario Kart Wii. And now we have Mario Party Superstars. I never played this game. Whenever I play Mario Party, I always just go back to 8 because that's the one that was like current when me and my friends were all kids, and so that's the one we grew up with. And so Mario Party Superstars hasn't unfortunately never been played. Now we have Metal Gear Solid Collection. I've essentially never played this game. I popped in Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS5 version of this collection, like probably 6 months ago or so, and I got stuck within like the first 15 minutes of the game and said, you know what, I'll save this series for another time, and I'm still saving it, although I probably will play Metal Gear Solid 1 this month. And now we have Metroid Dread. I have been on somewhat of a Metroidvania kick like the past year or so. I've played Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Hollow Knight, and I've enjoyed all three quite a bit, so Metroid Dread is probably going to be next in the pipeline. I'll go over the bigger box games that I have here on the side besides Hollow Knight, because these are not going to be in with the rest of them alphabetically. We have Sonic Mania Plus. I had the normal print of Sonic Mania for the longest time, and I ended up finding this special art book edition at a GameStop for $10, and I said, you know what, I'll upgrade my normal Sonic Mania to a collector's edition for Sonic Mania Plus, thank you very much, and here we are. And next is the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Double Pack. Now, the reason I have this is because shortly after Scarlet and Violet came out, probably like spring of the next year, GameStop had the double pack for some reason on clearance for $30, so $15 each for Scarlet and Violet. And at the time, I already had both games because at the time I was a massive Pokemon guy. So the Scarlet and Violet double pack, I kept the box for it and sold the games inside because I already had the games inside. And yeah, I still have the box. Pretty cool little trinket here. Alright, now it's time for the bottom shelf. Next up is Metroid Prime Remastered. I remember when this game came out, it was oddly hard to find. Like, for some reason, they printed a very low amount of copies of this game. And I guess what Nintendo failed to realize is that a first-party Nintendo IP for $40 is going to sell like crazy. And so for the first couple months of this game being out, they were worth more than retail, which was very odd. And during that period, I found a copy at Walmart, the last one on the shelf, and I said, you know what, I'll grab it. And I did grab it, and I held on to it because, of course, why wouldn't I? I mean, I guess I bought it just off the excitement of finding a rare game, but I don't regret it at all. Next is Miitopia. I was originally very interested in this game just because I love Tomodachi Life, but I've been kind of watching some Scott Stash videos the last couple of weeks, which is just Scott the Waz's second channel, And it seems like in nearly every one of those videos, he's talking shit about Miitopia. Like, it just so happens that every video he on the Scott Stash channel, just at some point he starts talking shit about Miitopia. So I don't think I'm gonna play this game anytime soon. We have Minecraft. Not really much to say about Minecraft. It is one of the greatest games of all time. So yeah, that's Minecraft. I enjoy it quite a bit, and so do you. Now we have Monster Hunter Rise Deluxe Edition. I've never played a Monster Hunter game. To be honest, it doesn't really seem like it would be my thing, although this is a very iconic Switch game, so that's the main reason I have it, although I could see myself playing the new one that comes out this year if it reviews very well, and is also multiplayer. But something very interesting is that this is the Deluxe Edition cover, and I remember when I was buying this game, I was at a GameStop, of course, as I typically am for like all of these Switch games. Almost all of them come from GameStop. And I remember the employee almost gave me the normal edition cover, and I specifically requested to get the Deluxe Edition cover for no reason, because I don't think there's any difference between the covers. I don't know why I decided to mention that, but I did. And now we have new Pokemon Snap. I got this game shortly after it came out because I was at a GameStop, and I just so happened to find this game used during a sale, and this was like very, very shortly, like a couple weeks after it came out, and I just kind of grabbed it because it was new. And now we have My Friend Peppa Pig. Now, this game was a gift from a friend for my birthday, and of course it is a joke gift, but if you're gonna go for a joke gift, why go for a $40 joke gift? Because he bought this game at Target brand new shortly after it came out and basically got scammed, but it is still pretty funny that I have this. And now we have Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. This game gets a lot of hate, and I honestly don't think it's as bad as people say. I enjoyed it quite a bit when I played it, and the reason I even bought it in the first place is because, again, this was like maybe a week or two after it came out. The game was on sale at Target, and this was at a point in time when GameStop did price matching on new games. So it was on sale for $20 at Target, and I went to GameStop and used a couple coupons here and there, some trade credit here and there, and ended up getting this game for pretty much free. And I played it, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. And now we have Octopath Traveler. This was the first really long JRPG that I ever tried to play. I remember this was probably 2021. And this game was still a Switch exclusive at the time. I don't know if it still is. It probably is, actually. But it was a very highly regarded Switch exclusive early on in the library, probably like 2018 or 2019, whenever it came out. And the game intrigued me for that reason alone. And I remember I played through the first couple hours of it, and I was not ready for a extremely long JRPG at that point in my life, so I never ended up finishing it, but I did enjoy what I played quite a bit. And now we have Octopath Traveler 2. I ended up getting this game for a very good deal at GameStop at some point, and that's the reason I have it, although I'm sure I would play Octopath Traveler 1 before this one, but yeah, I'll get to it eventually, someday. Next is Omori. I bought this game during the Fangamer Black Friday sale last year. It was buy two get one on like pretty much any game from Fangamer that you'd really care to pick up. So I ended up buying this and 2 copies of Hollow Knight on PS4, which I ended up giving out as gifts to my friends. And Omori, big hit with the Mother fan base, so I'm sure I'd like this game a decent amount, although I'm not sure when I'll get to playing it. And now we have Ori and the Blind Forest. I completely forgot I even had this game until I pulled it off the shelf, so I mean that tells you all you need to know. This was probably just a throwaway purchase at GameStop at some point, although I'm sure the game is very good, and I probably will play it at some point. And now we have a sealed copy of Owlboy. This is probably one of the strangest flea market pickups that I've ever had. I don't know why someone had a sealed copy of Owlboy that they were selling for $10 at the flea market, but they did. Another very odd one is I found a sealed copy of Axiom Verge 2 on the Switch at a flea market. I don't have that anymore. But yeah, we have Owlboy here. so weird. And now we have Paper Mario and the Origami King. This game came out at the height of my Paper Mario fandom, and I was so disappointed with it, it's not even funny. I never finished it. I just kind of played like, I got pretty decently far in it too. I just never finished it though, mainly because I hated everything that it represents. Now we have Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This was for many years my favorite game of all time. The GameCube version I'm talking about specifically. The Thousand Year Door is absolutely fantastic. It is a perfect introductory level RPG for anyone who wants to try a JRPG. It's perfect in every way. And the remake is even better, I would assume, because I never played the remake. I bought it on launch day, mainly just to send a message to Nintendo like, this is what we want, give us more of this, please. And now we've gotten to the Persona section, with Persona 3 Portable. I don't have much to say about this, although it was from Limited Run. I pre-ordered this from Limited Run, my first ever Limited Run purchase. And something funny with this specific game is that I dropped it on the corner of my desk, like as I was taking it out of the package, and you can see like a little dent in the cover right there on Makoto's shoulder. I'm an idiot. And for that reason, I took it out of the seal and switched it to a different case. Like, the original case that this was in got messed up by that drop, and it's very unfortunate. And I did play Persona 3 and 4 for the first time on Switch a couple years ago, so it was fun to get them on Switch physically as well, because at the time I bought them on Switch, there was no physical print. Now we have my Persona 4 Golden, which did not get dropped on the corner of my table and is still sealed because I do have it downloaded already. This game is fantastic. And now we have Persona 5 Royal. I did play this on PS4, or I guess PS5, but I played the PS4 version. Not that it really matters. I have this, so I have every Persona game on the Switch, and I will probably play this again at some point, not on the Switch. It is, of course, my favorite game. As you know, this is pretty much a glorified Persona channel at this point. Now we have Persona 5 Strikers, which is another fantastic game. I absolutely love this one. It's not as good as the mainline series, but it's about as close as you're gonna get. And now we have Persona 5 Tactica, which is not very good, unfortunately. Yeah, it's just not as good as the other spin-offs. I mean, considering that this is a newer game, you would probably expect it to be better than Strikers, but it's not. And now we have Pikmin 1+2. I've never played a Pikmin game before, so what better collection to pick up than this one? I'm sure I'll play it at some point. I don't know if I'd rather play it on Switch or on the GameCube. That is something for me to figure out at some point, but I'm sure I will play the first Pikmin eventually. And I'd assume probably this year, so you can expect to see that at some point. And now we are at the Pokemon section, starting off with Brilliant Diamond. This game came out also in like the peak of my Pokemon phase. I mean, my Pokemon phase went for like a couple years strong, and I enjoyed this game a lot when it came out. I mean, it's about as low quality as you're going to get out of a Pokemon game, but at the end of the day, it's still a Gen 4 Pokemon game, so it's pretty darn good. When this game came out, I remember I played through the entire thing in one weekend, and that was a common occurrence for me with every Pokemon release around this time. I would play through the entire game in the weekend it came out, which is deranged because these games are like 25 hours apiece. Now we have Pokemon Legends Arceus. This game is actually really, really good. I cannot speak highly enough of it. As far as Pokemon games go, it is one of the best out there, the best one on the Switch by far. This game is great. Now we have Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. This was one of the first Pokemon games that I ever played. Surprisingly enough, I've said it plenty of times, but I got into Pokemon at an older age than I feel like most people, and this was one of the first ones I played, and considering I was terrible at the game at the time, it was not as easy as it is for most people, so I enjoyed the game quite a bit. And I have Let's Go Pikachu as well, just for the collection. Funnily enough, I actually have played this game twice. I played it once when it came out, and then another one when I was in my Pokemon phase, so that was very interesting. Let's Go Pikachu is also the first Nuzlocke that I ever did. I picked this one, I guess, because it's the easiest game. So yeah, that's that. And now we have Pokemon Scarlet. I will talk more about it once I get to Violet, because that's the one that I played when it came out. And here is my most expensive Switch game, Pokemon Shield with the Pokemon Shield expansion pass. I got this at a GameStop for like $50. The Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass games are surprisingly like limited print runs of the Pokemon Sword and Shield games with all the DLC on the cartridge. These games are very, very expensive, and to be honest, I'm surprised they're not more expensive, considering that, you know, the DS Pokemon games, for example, sold millions and millions and millions of copies, and they're worth more than this, whereas the print run for the Sword and Shield expansion passes are very, very limited, and they're still worth less than the DS games. So I would imagine, I don't know if the Switch eShop will ever get shut down, but if it ever does, I expect these to be worth a fucking ton. I also did not buy the Sword and Shield DLC digitally, so if I ever want to play it, which I don't think I ever will, but if I do ever want to play it, I do have it, and I will always have it because it is physically on the cartridge. And now we have Shining Pearl. I do have every Pokemon game on Switch. I didn't say that at the beginning, but every mainline Pokemon game on Switch I do have, and this is just another one of that. And now we have Pokemon Sword. I played this game when it came out. This was before my Pokemon phase. I guess I'll just mention it was like 2021 to 2023, like mid 2021 to very early 2023. It started when I played Pokemon Platinum for the first time, and it ended when I played Persona 5 Royal, and I moved on from Pokemon at that point. But Pokemon Sword was before that, and I played it when it came out, and I liked it quite a bit. One thing about these Switch Pokemon games is that a lot of them were some of the first Pokemon games I ever played, so I wasn't familiar with the early ones, the DS ones specifically, and what they had that made them so good. So for me, Pokemon Sword was great. I just didn't know what I was missing, you could say. We've made it to Pokemon Violet. I actually like these games quite a bit. Despite them, you know, having such a bad reputation, I enjoyed these a lot when they came out. Me and my friends played the hell out of these, hundreds of hours of shiny hunting each. As far as the shiny hunting goes in this game, I think it is probably my favorite, because it's easy, but it's still rewarding to do. It is really good. I think this game is very underrated. I enjoyed it a lot. And now we have Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. I have this mainly because it was on clearance at GameStop for like $5, so I grabbed it, and I never got rid of it because it's Tetris. You can't go wrong with Tetris. And now we have Rabbids Party of Legends. This was another gift. This was an odd pick as well. It was not a joke gift or anything. It was just kind of a weird pick. I assume it was very cheap at some point. And that's why I got it. Alright, now I'm sorry if there's a noticeable dip in quality at this point, because I have run out of storage on my phone. So if you notice something, it is not your internet that's deceiving you. Next is Rayman Legends Definitive Edition. I have this game on the Wii U, but I didn't have it on the Switch, and I was able to get it for like $10 at a GameStop sale, so why not, right? Now we have Scribblenauts Mega Pack. I was a big fan of these games on the Wii U, so when they got ported to the Switch, I picked them up for like $15 on Black Friday. I enjoy these games a lot. They're very fun. Now we have Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. I'm not exactly sure what the Treasure Trove aspect of this is, but the first Shovel Knight is pretty fun. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but it is a very fun game. Yeah, another indie game. Now we have SMT5. I've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game besides Persona, I guess. To be honest, it doesn't intrigue me as much, but you know, I still will do it eventually. I'm sure I'd enjoy it, actually. If I were to play one, it'd probably be Vengeance, so whenever I find a non-Steelbook edition of Vengeance, I'll pick it up and take it with me. Now we have Sonic Origins Plus. I believe this is a collection of a bunch of the older Sonic games. I'm not the biggest fan of those games, to be honest, but you know, they still have their merits, and yeah, I got the Sonic Origins Plus. And now we have Sonic Superstars. I believe this is another 2D platformer Sonic game. It's a couple years old. I got it at a GameStop sale. Big shocker on that one. Now we have Splatoon 2. This was a Switch staple for many years before Splatoon 3 came out, of course. I've never really gotten into Splatoon, unfortunately. I had it on the Wii U, the first one, around when it came out, but I was 9 years old when that game came out, so it's safe to say that it wasn't exactly fit to be a good online shooter gamer. And now we have Splatoon 3. I never played this one either. I have a bunch of friends who played it, but I picked this game up after Splatoon 3 lost all its hype, so I never ended up playing this one, unfortunately. And now we have Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. I've never played the remake, but I did play the original at a time in my life where I was a big SpongeBob guy. I still am. I still find it very funny, although I don't really watch it too much anymore. There were actually consecutive years where I made a ranking of every episode from the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, which is very funny that I did that not once but twice. It never became an annual thing, I suppose, but I do enjoy SpongeBob quite a bit. So we have this one. I think I've heard that the remake is not as good as the original, but I really don't know if that's true. And now we have Stardew Valley. I want to like this game very bad. I've tried playing it multiple times, but I never stuck with it all the way, although I still do think that at some point it will click with me and I will enjoy it a lot. And now we have Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This is one that is also very expensive. I remember when this game came out and people were buying them as an investment of sorts, and there was like so much controversy surrounding that, of like whether or not it would ever become worth anything. And like most people were assuming that it sold like 10 million copies. Of course it'll never be worth anything. It's sold 10 million copies, but you know, sure enough, you know, the Switch's install base is like 150 million, and these are 3 of the greatest Nintendo games of all time. So I mean, it's really a no-brainer that'd be worth more in the future. So yeah, I mean, these Super Mario 64 and Galaxy are 2 of the greatest games of all time. Then Sunshine, also very good. I would say underrated for sure. Speaking of an underrated Mario game, we have Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. I don't think people really recognize enough how much of an improvement this version of 3D World is over the original. The original had it was still a great game, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as fun to play because Mario was very slow and movement was somewhat limiting. But in this version, they made it so that all the characters move faster, as well as adding a dive in the air, sort of like Mario Odyssey's dive. And I think that makes this game like so much better. It is so good on the Switch. I cannot recommend this one enough. I prefer it to Super Mario Odyssey. Now we have Super Mario Maker 2. I never got super into this one, unlike the original Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. Most of my experience with this game comes through watching YouTube videos of it, funnily enough. But I have uploaded a couple like diabolically bad levels before, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty good for what it is. Now we have Super Mario Odyssey. Without a doubt, a great game, don't get me wrong. It's not my favorite 3D Mario by any means. It's probably my least favorite of all the 3D Marios when it's all said and done. And, you know, I have my reasons for that, and I won't get into it in this video because I feel like I've said it a few times, at least on the channel or elsewhere. But Super Mario Odyssey is a very good game, just not my favorite. And now we have Super Mario Party. This was a very early Switch release, and I did play it at the time for that reason alone. And it was not the best. It's not the greatest Mario Party game to ever exist. It just it's by far the worst one on Switch. I don't have Mario Party Jamboree because it just came out, so I mean I can't speak on that. Or actually Superstars I haven't played either. This is the only Mario Party on Switch that I played, and it's not very good. We have Super Mario RPG. Mine is still sealed. I've not gotten around to it yet. I've played like halfway through the SNES version of this game. I believe I've mentioned this before, but if not, I originally played this game on the Super Nintendo when I was a huge Paper Mario fan, and when I was at the sunken ship, which I believe is like halfway or so through the game, my save file corrupted and I lost all of my progress, and I never picked it back up after that, so I've never finished this game, although I would like to, and I probably will on the Switch version, but until then it's staying sealed. And now we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Similarly to Super Mario Odyssey, very good game. It's just not my favorite though. The reason that I think this is my least favorite 2D Mario is mainly because I went into it hoping it was going to be a multiplayer game in the same way that New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U were. A lot of people don't like the multiplayer modes in those games, but I am probably one of the few who have that as their like multiplayer game of choice. That is my favorite multiplayer couch co-op game of all time, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, that is. And so when this game just kind of botched that feel of New Super Mario Bros. Multiplayer, I was just very disappointed with it. Despite that, it is definitely a lot of fun in single player and worth playing. And now we have Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. I believe this is a remake of Super Monkey Ball 2. I have played this game for a little bit, and everything that I played was like Super Monkey Ball 2 levels, so I'm assuming it's a remake of that game, and it's Super Monkey Ball 2. I mean, that's really all it is, I guess. And Super Monkey Ball 2 is a fantastic game, so that's not a downside whatsoever. And now we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This game is absolutely perfect. I don't know how Smash Bros. Could get any better than this unless they just add more stuff to it. It feels perfect, and it's the best fighting game ever made. And now we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. I could go without this game, to be honest. A lot of these are GameStop purchases, and I mean, I just don't want to get rid of my Switch games, so I just kind of kept them all. And we have Cowabunga Collection. I'm really not super interested in these games, but I do have them. And now we have Terraria. I played this game a little bit when I was a kid, but that's really about it. I've had this for like 6 years or so. It's a fun game. It is. I just prefer Minecraft, as most people do. Alright, just a side note here, I just want to point out that the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth on the label is slightly lower on the box art than every other game, which is fucking stupid. But we do have the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. I don't really know what this game is. It looks weird. It doesn't look like I'd like it. I probably will sell this game at some point, but I do have it for now. And now we have Skyrim. A large reason I have this game at all is because of how important this was for the Switch in general. I remember when the Switch was first revealed, and people were, of course, hesitant because the Nintendo was coming off of the Wii U, but then they showed Skyrim being played on a plane in the reveal trailer, and that just, like, generated so much hype for people, and that was, like, a really huge part of that reveal, and I remember that very distinctly, so I have Skyrim on the Wii U. The Wii U. I said the Wii U. And next is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I've heard that the Great Ace Attorney games are fantastic, and I enjoy the Ace Attorney series a lot, so I'm sure I will love these games when I eventually get to them, because there are a lot of Ace Attorney games, and I am playing the series in order. And here we are at the Zelda games, starting with Breath of the Wild. This was, at the time when it came out, my favorite game of all time, and is number 3 as we speak. Fantastic game. It is so good. Not speak highly enough of it. Next is Zelda Link's Awakening. I'm not too big of a 2D Zelda guy, so I'm not the biggest fan of this game, but I do have it because it is a Nintendo game on the Switch, and I want it for my collection because I'm a freak and buy games I don't play. And next is Skyward Sword HD. This is the first way I ever played this game, and I thought it was phenomenal. I think this is one of the best traditional Zelda games of all time. It's second place for me behind Majora's Mask. It has a very fun story. I like it a lot. The music is great. The dungeons are so much fun, and I love that it has like sort of a Metroidvania feel to it, where like you'll explore the same areas with new abilities and it'll unlock new paths, and I think that's really cool. Although a lot of people don't like that about it. And now we have Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In my opinion, the greatest game of all time. It's so good. It's so good. Not my favorite, but I think it's the greatest game ever made. In terms of pure quality, it doesn't get better than this. And now we have The World Ends With You Final Remix. The World Ends With You is a good example of a series of games that I don't enjoy playing very much, but I do like everything else about them. And I think the art of this game is cool, so I wanted it on the Switch. I played it on the DS originally and did not like it very much, but despite that, I still bought the Switch version because I think it looks cool. And now we have Undertale. It's pretty good. Not my favorite game. Next is Untitled Goose Game. This was, for whatever reason, very popular back in the day, which I remember very, very deliberately. Yeah, I never played it. I know, like, for some reason, I just remember every YouTuber playing this game back in the day. Second to last, we have Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I played like halfway through this game last year and never finished it, but I will be finishing it this month, so, yeah, I expect a review on that soon. And finally, we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Judging by the fact that I haven't finished the first one, I've not finished or even started 3, although I have heard that this is one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, and I can't wait to play it. Now, I don't have Xenoblade Chronicles 2 yet, so I do need to get that one first and then play it, but that's the Switch collection. From Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door to Super Mario Galaxy to Breath of the Wild and Persona 5 Royal and Tears of the Kingdom and Bioshock and Hollow Knight and Xenoblade 3, Smash Ultimate, the Switch has like nearly every one of the greatest games of all time on it. There are so many games to play on this thing. As you see, I've reached the point in my collection, just in general, regardless of what console, that I'm only really keeping games that I deliberately want, and the Switch has the most of those. So I think that just goes to show that the Switch, the greatest console of all time.